Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're digging into the conversations from the ChatGPT-IA-edu Telegram group over the past week.
That's right. It's been a busy week, as always. We've sifted through the key debates, the interesting questions, and all the shared resources focusing on AI in education.
And our source material, as usual, is that vibrant discussion happening right there in the Telegram group. So think of this as a synthesis of the week's buzz.
Exactly. Our mission here is to pull out the key takeaways, maybe some surprising insights, and definitely the practical stuff for anyone keeping an eye on how AI is changing education.
Okay, so let's kick things off with something that popped up early in the week. Lucia reported an issue with Notebook LM.
Ah, yes, the language problem. She said it was giving answers in English, right?
Okay.
Even though her sources and instructions were in Spanish.
Exactly, which is odd. Even when she specifically asked for Spanish, it stuck to English.
It highlights how these large language models, LLMs, can sometimes behave unexpectedly,
Right.
even with clear instructions.
And Pedro Marquez chimed in, suggesting maybe it was just server overload.
Well, that's plausible, isn't it? High demand could potentially lead to some glitches or unexpected default behaviors. It raises questions about the infrastructure supporting these tools.
Definitely. And Carlos Bravo Reyes shared a helpful YouTube video with some alternative ways to work with Notebook LM. Always good to have a plan B.
Always. It makes you wonder, have you, listening in, ever had an AI tool just switch languages on you or do something else unexpected? What do you think causes that?
Moving on, a big milestone for the group itself, its second anniversary.
Yeah, 2 years. And Juan Jodaro made a great point. 2 years in AI development feels like, well, maybe decades compared to other areas in education. The pace is just incredible.
It really is. And the group's activity reflects that. Think about these numbers. Over 27,000 messages, nearly 1,200 photos, videos, files, thousands of links.
It's a massive amount of shared knowledge and discussion. Really shows the engagement. 27,444 messages, 1,170 photos, 44 videos, 146 files, 29 audios, and 394 links to be precise.
Wow. And Carlos Bravo Reyes was curious about the total message count from the very beginning.
Right, and Hondo de Haro not only provided the stats, but also explained how to find the sequential message number using Telegram's link feature. A neat little trick.
It really shows how these platforms allow you to track community growth. And Teresa Gonzalez added a nice comment praising the members' shared curiosity and drive to learn.
That's the core of a good learning community, isn't it? That shared passion.
Absolutely. It makes you think, if you're part of online communities for learning, what makes them really valuable for you? Is it the resources, the discussion, the support?
That sense of collective exploration, perhaps.
Okay, next up, Mikel Angel F. brought news about Gemini specifically, LaTeX support being implemented in models 2.0 and 2.5. He shared a link to a post on X.
LaTeX support is a big deal for anyone working with math or scientific notation. It's a feature many have been asking for in AI tools. LaTeX, just as a reminder, is that system for typesetting complex technical documents.
But the follow-up comments weren't quite as positive, were they?
No, apparently there were quite a few errors reported with the implementation. People were running into problems, inconsistencies.
One user even mentioned it wasn't working the same way across different Google accounts.
Which suggests maybe some rollout issues or instability. Reliability is key for something like LaTeX,
Definitely. So for those of you who work with this kind of notation, how important is reliable LaTeX support in your AI tools? Can you afford for it to be buggy?
Imagine spending time crafting something complex only for the tool to mess it up. Frustrating.
Let's switch gears to a more sensitive topic, AI therapy and mental health. Manuel Suengas shared a newspaper article about psychobots flooding the market.
Ah, the AI therapists. It's a growing area with both potential and, well, significant concerns.
Juan Jodaro then shared the actual academic study behind one specific tool, TheraBot, published in NEJM AI. This one was developed by psychiatrists and psychologists at Dartmouth.
And that's a key distinction, right? TheraBot was trained on evidence-based practices, specifically trying to avoid harmful or incorrect responses. Professional oversight is crucial here.
Exactly. Because other experts, while impressed with TheraBot's trial results, warned that this doesn't validate all the psychobots out there. Most lack that rigorous evidence-based training.
Right. There's a big difference between a research-backed tool and something just thrown together. And even with TheraBot, there were questions about how it would perform in the real world, outside controlled trials.
Manuel Suengas brought up the accessibility angle. AI could be an option for those who can't afford traditional therapy, or maybe help with long waiting lists.
That's a compelling argument. Balancing access with quality of care. Where can AI fit in responsibly?
The discussion leaned towards AI being a complement, not a substitute, for human therapists, at least for the foreseeable future.
That seems like the most likely path. The human element, empathy, the therapeutic relationship, those are hard to replicate. AI might augment, but replace. Probably not soon.
Interestingly, a Harvard Business Review study shared by Joaquin Mesa ranked therapy and accompaniment as the #1 use case for generative AI in 2025.
Wow, #1. That shows the level of expectation. The study likely pointed to scalability and access as key drivers.
And a quote from that study highlighted the potential in countries with limited mental health resources, even acknowledging data security concerns. Sometimes the need might outweigh the privacy risks for some individuals.
That's a tough ethical trade-off, isn't it? Weighing potential benefits against privacy risks, especially in under-resourced areas.
Menelso Angus suspects AI is already being used for this kind of therapy accompaniment more than we realize, even without solid data.
That wouldn't be surprising. The ease of access makes it tempting for people seeking immediate support, even if informal.
Which leads to the big question for you. What are the ethical lines here? What are the real benefits and risks of AI for mental health support? So much to unpack.
Absolutely. Privacy, accuracy, the risk of bad advice, the need for human oversight. It's a complex web.
Okay, let's move to AI and assessment. Menelso Angus shared an X post about an AI tool grading multiple choice tests.
Automating grading. It's the perennial quest in EdTech, isn't it? Freeing up teacher time is the promise.
Michelangelo F. had a flashback to the 80s using punched card templates for grading.
Shows how far we've come, technologically speaking. From punched cards to sophisticated AI.
The discussion then touched on the human value add. There was a funny comment suggesting you still need someone to hold the phone.
Yeah. Even with AI, humans are still in the loop, maybe for setup, oversight, or interpreting results. Jordi Adele also mentioned he used to create those kinds of tests himself.
Michelangelo F. made a crucial point, though. These tools are generally best for lower-order thinking skills, like remembering and understanding, and they often rely on trick questions.
That's a key limitation. AI is good at objective scoring, but struggles with assessing deeper understanding, critical thinking, or creativity, especially if the test is just about recall or catching students out.
He argued for pairing these kinds of evaluations with activities assessing higher-order skills, a balanced approach.
Makes sense. You need a mix of methods to get a full picture of student learning.
There was also talk about AI helping design activities that discourage cheating or even assess how well students use AI. An example was a student using an AI-generated interactive app for an oral presentation.
That's a really interesting shift from fighting AI use to evaluating skillful AI use, using AI as the tool being assessed.
So, thinking about your own experiences with assessment, how do you see AI changing things? And what are its limits when it comes to truly deep understanding?
It could offer personalized feedback, maybe identify struggle points.
Yeah.
But can it really gauge nuanced understanding or creativity in the same way a human can? That's the debate.
Shifting gears again, data privacy. Menelso Angus shared an article about Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp using public user data to train their AI models and how users might opt out.
That's a huge topic. Our public data is increasingly becoming training fuel for AI. Awareness is key.
It really makes you think about your own digital footprint. Are you aware of how your online data might be used? What steps, if any, do you take to manage your privacy?
Worth checking those privacy settings periodically, right?
Definitely. Okay, next topic. AI for conceptual maps. Alejandro Jesus asked for recommendations for tools that create these maps with all their addendums, the extra details and connections.
Yeah, he was looking for something beyond basic mind maps, something richer to show complex relationships between ideas.
Suggestions included Notebook LM, though with a question about what addendums really meant. Napkin was mentioned, and Lucia suggested Mermaid Chart for more technical users.
A good range of options, showing there isn't just one tool for this. Depends on your needs and technical comfort level.
Raul then made a really sharp point, comparing potentially unreliable AI-generated advice to those self-help books with shaky foundations. He highlighted the danger of trusting uncritically.
That's a great analogy. Whether it's a book or an AI, critical evaluation of the source and the advice is essential. Don't just take it at face value.
On a more practical note, good news for students. Menelso Angus shared that OpenAI is offering ChatGPT+ free for students globally for 2 months.
Oh, that's significant. Lowers the barrier for students to access the more powerful versions of these tools for their studies.
But tools aren't always smooth sailing. Teodora ran into trouble downloading questionnaires she'd made with the free ChatGPT, either as PDFs or Google Forms.
Ugh. Download issues. Those are always frustrating when you just want to use what you've created.
Enrique Brito suggested asking the chatbot for the direct download link, which sometimes works. Sandra Fortinet recommended the Brisk Chrome extension for generating forms directly. Teodora later confirmed Brisk did the trick.
Nice workaround. Shows the value of community troubleshooting and browser extensions filling the gaps.
Now for some controversy. Mikel Angel F. highlighted a story about a Columbia University student reportedly suspended for creating a cheating tool called Cluely and then using the suspension as marketing.
Wow, okay. That raises a lot of ethical flags, both about the tool itself and using a suspension for promotion.
The tool's purpose is apparently to simulate human interaction, extracting enough data to create an illusion of connection for video calls, meetings, even dates, reducing the need for genuine engagement.
That sounds quite dystopian, doesn't it? Designing tech to specifically bypass genuine connection.
Juanjo de Haro compared it to those fake celebrity messages targeting lonely people, highlighting the potential for manipulation.
It's a stark reminder of the potential downsides, the lack of authenticity these tools can enable.
Raul mentioned using Notebook LM to summarize and filter out sensationalism from online videos, trying to focus on reliable info. A good counterpoint, using AI critically.
Exactly. Using AI not to deceive, but to navigate information overload more effectively.
This led to a discussion on critical evaluation. Juanjo de Haro shared an interview with philosopher Daniel Innerarity, who argues AI is a challenge to human creativity, not its end.
That's a more optimistic take. AI is a catalyst, not a replacement.
So, a question for you listening. How do you feel about the ethics of tools designed to simulate connection or potentially facilitate academic dishonesty? What's the educator's role here?
It forces us to think about what skills and values we prioritize, right? Genuine communication, critical thinking, academic integrity.
Okay, lightning round on a few tools. Roberto G. shared a thread comparing 5 AI website builders based on one prompt. Bolt.new apparently won a user poll.
The website builder space is getting crowded with AI options, making it easier for non-coders to get online.
Menel Salingus asked if ChatGPT could limit searches to specific domains, and also noted OpenAI seemed to up the number of deep research queries for Plus users.
Domain-specific search would be useful for targeted research, and more deep queries are always welcome for complex topics.
Mikel Angel F. clarified that OpenAI announced a light version of deep research using GPT-4 Mini, which kicks in after hitting limits on the main one. Free accounts get 5 deep queries a month now.
Okay. So a tiered approach to managing resource costs while still offering the feature.
Juanjo de Haro showed a great tip for coding with ChatGPT. Ask for downloadable files, like HTML, instead of using the interactive canvas. He found it leads to better Python usage by the AI, fewer errors, and easier modifications.
That's a fascinating practical insight. The output format actually influences the AI's underlying process and code quality. Worth trying if you code with AI.
Monica shared a contrasting experience, frustration coding with ChatGPT for a course, but success building a small HTML app with Claude, despite free version limits.
It really highlights that different models excel at different things, and sometimes the best model on paper isn't the best for your specific task or workflow.
Juanjo suggested workarounds for Claude's limits, like uploading partial code, and praised Monica's resulting app for reviewing autism topics.
Great example of persistence and finding ways to make the tools work for educational purposes. So if you use AI for coding, have you noticed these kinds of differences based on the interface or the model?
Let us know. Also mentioned, Anthropic released a positive ethics analysis of their own model, Claude.
Good to see companies proactively evaluating the ethical dimensions of their AI.
Someone asked about a paid version of DeepSeek. Juanjo clarified it's free, but often overloaded.
Popularity has its price, sometimes in server availability.
Carlos Gonzalez asked for the best ChatGPT model for programming HTML, having had issues with 4.0. Juanjo recommended the O3 model based on his own success building a complex program.
Specific model recommendations based on practical experience are super valuable.
Quick hits. Grok is getting memory, needs activation. Carlos Bravo Reyes clarified the difference between mind maps and conceptual maps made by AI.
Important distinction for visual knowledge representation.
Miguel Luque requested the return of podcasts, even in English. Juanjo acknowledged it, but noted his preference for Spanish, though English versions are being produced now. Cesar Poyados shared how to make custom Pasapalabra games with AI. Jose Luis Navarro Perez recommended Cursor.com for programming and Heijin.com for something related.
Lots of tool sharing and community interaction there.
Okay, a bigger picture item. Wanzhou shared a USA Today article on the U.S. government's increased focus on AI in education.
That's a significant policy shift. Showing AI in education is moving on to the national agenda.
And Mikkel Angel F. shared a thread from AI for Education raising key questions about this initiative. What kind of training? Is it developmentally appropriate? How can teachers integrate it? Need input from everyone involved?
Crucial questions. Will it be basic ICT skills or broader AI literacy? How do you teach AI concepts to young kids appropriately? Can teachers realistically keep up?
Exactly. The thread stressed collaboration and funding for research to understand the actual impact on learning.
We need evidence, not just assumptions, about what works and how AI affects classroom dynamics.
Updates on deep research. Mikkel shared OpenAI's posts on the light version, Manel shared a screenshot of the interface change, and Wanzhou linked the main announcement again, confirming 5 free queries months.
So that feature is definitely rolling out widely now.
Wanzhou shared a clever workaround to trigger ChatGPT or Grok from a web app without using paid APIs, just by crafting specific URLs. He shared a poem generator example.
Interesting hack. A way to integrate basic chatbot functionality without API costs for simple projects.
Manel countered that free APIs do exist, llama, hugging face, for testing, but agreed paid APIs are usually needed for robust deployment, potentially suggesting a startup idea jokingly. Wanzhou also suggested Notebook LM as a complement for someone creating an exam syllabus.
Right. Different tools for different stages of development and different tasks. Combining tools is often key.
Mike asked if Notebook LM audio generation is English only. Wanzhou confirmed it's been restricted to English recently.
Another limitation to be aware of for multilingual users.
Manel shared a link visualizing ChatGPT's energy consumption, food for thought.
Yeah, the environmental impact of large-scale AI is a growing concern that needs attention.
Wanzhou's tip. Treat AI like a person for better results. Be clear, conversational.
Good advice. The quality of your prompt often dictates the quality of the output.
Enrique Brito had trouble downloading Excel files from Grok, but found HTML output worked as a workaround.
Adaptability is key when working with these evolving tools.
Wanzhou recommended requesting data as CSV for spreadsheets, as AI handles it well. He clarified AI can't directly write to cloud storage like Drive.
Understanding those input-output limitations is important for data tasks.
Further clarification. Grok's CSV output is just text numbers, no formulas, unlike ChatGPT, which might preserve them using Python. Wanzhou shared a list comparing chatbots' calculation abilities.
So the underlying engine, whether it uses programming, matters for data fidelity. Good to know.
The chatbot landscape is changing so fast. Wanzhou noted the list is much longer now. Raul asked about typical usage patterns and limits.
It's hard to keep up. Wanzhou admitted even he discovers limits when he hits them. Raul voiced the frustration of hitting usage caps and suggested exact counters would be helpful.
Totally agree. Transparency on limits is important for users relying on these tools. JMGA had issues with the Gemini created app on Google sites on mobile, white screen. After some community troubleshooting, the immediate fix seemed to be adjusting the embedded frame size.
But Wanzhou cautioned there might still be underlying code errors. Common with Claude output, apparently, Quirk's mode issue, and suggested getting a better Gemini model, 2.5 Pro, to fix the code from the faster Flash version.
Interesting distinction between the Gemini Pro and Flash models. Pro is better but limited. Flash is faster with fewer limits but maybe less robust code.
Trade-offs everywhere. Speed versus quality versus usage limits.
Wanzhou announced an app linking Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with UN days, using AI for activity creation. Impressive project.
Great example of using AI for meaningful educational resources on global issues.
Manel shared updates on GPT forum improvements. Better memory, STEM problem solving, more proactive responses.
Constant iteration and improvement on these flagship models.
Irene asked about summarizing multiple PDFs in ChatGPT. Consensus was, do it one by one for accuracy, maybe break down large ones.
Yeah. Batch processing complex tasks like summarization can sometimes compromise quality. Better to handle them individually.
Manel shared another screenshot confirming deep research availability. JC asked about a disappeared AI studio feature for creating illustrated stories.
Ah, yes, the Gemini 2.0 Flash experimental feature. Mikkel shared examples of viral AI stories. Teresa stressed the need for good prompts.
But JC confirmed the feature vanished. Mikhail reported it's removed for Europe, unless using a VPN, possibly superseded by ChatGPT's 4.0 image model.
The rapid churn of experimental features, what's here today, might be gone or replaced tomorrow.
Wanzhou shared a multi-prompt tool to query multiple chatbots at once. Raul found it useful for comparison.
Handy for testing and seeing how different AIs tackle the same prompt.
Raul asked for didactic examples using Manus credits for a teacher training course. Enrique Bruto requested an update to an article on creating AI apps to include Grok, based on his positive experience. Wanzhou agreed.
Community feedback driving resource updates, great to see.
Okay, a really significant discussion point. Mikhail Angel F. shared an article by Chen et al. On pedagogical biases in AI lesson plan generators. Magic School, GPT-4, School AI.
This is crucial. The study found these tools often favor individual work, procedural tasks, rigid instruction, potentially limiting student agency and creativity.
Right. Prioritizing control and conformity over deeper pedagogy. Maybe reflecting common current practices rather than ideal ones.
The article calls for conscious use, active methodologies, and educator involvement to foster curiosity, autonomy, critical thinking. Asking who decides how learning should happen.
Koke wondered about chatbots designed to ask questions rather than give answers, promoting student autonomy. Enrique Brito mentioned someone at Arbisonius has built such bots in ChatGPT.
That's a fascinating pedagogical approach, AI as a Socratic questioner, not an answer machine. How can we as educators or learners spot and mitigate these biases? How do we prompt for deeper thinking?
Wanzhou echoed this concern, sharing an article about the new illiteracy, using AI as an oracle, not a tool. He stressed guiding teachers, not just giving them auto-generated plans.
It's about empowerment and critical use, not just passive consumption.
David Cordones shared using AI to analyze student reading transcripts to potentially help detect dyslexia, stressing the need for professional validation.
An interesting application for early detection support, but yes, professional diagnosis is paramount. Privacy concerns about student audio were raised, but addressed regarding pay-to-do accounts.
They apparently used GPT and Gemini to analyze transcripts from students with and without dyslexia diagnoses. A Google rep apparently confirmed educational Gemini data isn't used for training.
Important clarification on data usage in educational contexts.
Quick shares. A YouTube channel rec for ChatGPT content. Wanzhou updated his AI app creation article, adding Gemini, Grok, Pimi. Estonia launched a national AI LEAP program for schools.
Estonia often leads the way in digital initiatives for education.
Mikhail Angel F. shared an updated analysis of LLM's political leanings. Grok seems more centrist now. Others still lean left. Wanzhou shared his own testing prompt, confirming similar results.
Ongoing research into the subtle biases encoded in these models. Mikhail also warned about increased flattery in newer OpenAI models, sharing a meme.
Which led to sharing an Ars Technica article about users complaining ChatGPT is too relentlessly positive.
Be careful what you wish for, perhaps. Finding the right tone is tricky.
Wow, okay, that was a marathon. We covered so much ground tool issues, ethics, privacy, pedagogy, practical tips, the sheer speed of change.
Absolutely. From language glitches and coding workarounds to the deep ethical questions around AI therapy and assessment and those potential pedagogical biases baked into lesson planners.
That bias point really sticks with me. How seemingly efficient tools might subtly push teaching in a certain direction, maybe away from student agency or critical thinking if we're not careful.
It's a powerful reminder to stay critical, to question the outputs and the underlying assumptions. So we encourage you to keep reflecting on your own encounters with AI. Keep exploring.
Maybe consider questions like, what are the concrete best practices for ethically using AI in mental health support? Or how can educators specifically design AI-assisted learning that guarantees critical thinking isn't sidelined?
And perhaps a final thought to leave you with. As AI becomes more woven into education and life, how do we actively ensure we remain the critical users, the shapers of this technology, rather than just passively accepting whatever it gives us?
Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.